Okay, I have an issue with this. This is the Corsair new K65 mini keyboard, but it's a 60% keyboard. Why not just call it K60 instead? Well, that's because K60 already exists, and in fact, it was just launched a couple months ago. I think their marketing team didn't really plan that far ahead, right? But also, they have a K65 keyboard that is 10 kilos, but that didn't bother them. Anyway, naming drives aside, the K65 Mini has tons to offer if you're looking for a smaller form factor keyboard. So let's dive right into the review right now. Alright, as you can see, the box is adorably small yet chunky. And that's because they made it so that the size fits the keyboard itself exactly. So apart from the keyboard itself, you'll also get the usual paperwork, a detachable USB-C cable, a keycap puller, and some spare keycaps. There's an ABS one with the Corsair logo on it, as well as a PBT spacebar to replace the default one, which is ABS. You will want to use this if you like having the same texture through the entire keyboard. And now, let's take a look at the keyboard itself. It comes with fully PBT double-shot keycaps, which feel fantastic, except for the spacebar like I mentioned earlier. This time, Corsair has gone for a more prominent design with their tri-hexa pattern. While I'm usually a fan of a more minimalist look, this one is actually pretty nice because the RGB comes through via a single LED, creating a very nice glow. In terms of branding, it is quite minimal with just a subtle Corsair sales logo on the top over here and tiny K65 on the side. The font is quite simple, and thank God, Corsair has finally ditched the squarish, gamery font that they used to use. There are no flip-out feet on the bottom, but the chassis does have a nice incline already, so it doesn't really bother me. What does bother me, however, is the USB-C port is ever so slightly little bit off the center. I mean, why? Usually keyboard manufacturers will just put it on the left or the right side, or just smack dab it in the center. But this one is just this tiny little bit off center, so it doesn't look balanced. Well, if you're not picky about this thing, then it's not a big deal lah. However, if you are picky, until me. Anyway, as mentioned earlier, it has a 60% form factor, which means you won't have the numpad, function row, as well as the arrow and home clusters. But that doesn't mean that you'll lose a lot of functionality, as all the stuff that are physically missing can be accessed via shortcuts using the function key. And there are quite a lot of them, over 30 according to Corsair's own website, which is a lot considering that it only has a total of 61 keys. It also has per-key RGB lighting that can be customized via iCUE, but it also has onboard presets that you can toggle directly from the keyboard itself, which is great if you are not a fan of downloading extra software. The PCB is also white, so the RGB does glow and reflect really nicely, though it isn't nearly as bright and evenly dispersed as the box art. But I guess that's just for illustration purposes only, right? As for the switches, this unit uses Cherry MX Speed Silvers, which is a linear switch with a very short actuation point. Here's a sound test for you to hear how it sounds. Overall, it's nice if you like linear switches, but personally, I prefer those that are more tactile and clickier one because I'm a keyboard warrior. I must also say that the stabilizers are much better than the older models, especially the spacebar which barely wobbles now. The shift key is a little shaky, but it isn't too bad. One feature that Corsair boasts is the AXON hyper-processing technology, which has 8000Hz hyperpolling and 4000Hz key scanning, allowing you to deliver inputs up to 8 times faster. While it sounds cool, but I honestly don't know how much this will affect gameplay. I mean, I can understand a higher polling rate for mice, cause when it updates the position to the PC more often, it results in better accuracy. But when it comes to keyboard, I'm not sure really how many people can have hundreds of input per second, right? Also, it apparently takes a small hit on your CPU's performance when you set the polling rate to 8000Hz. While 2 to 3 FPS isn't a huge deal, I couldn't really feel a tangible difference with the faster polling rate. So it's really up to you if you want to enable it in iQ or not. In conclusion, this is a very nice first-time effort from Corsair in the small form factor keyboard market. Even with so few keys, it still retains most of the functionality of a full-size keyboard once you get used to the shortcuts. I like that it already comes with PBT double-shot keycaps as well as built-in lighting presets. While I'm unsure how useful or gimmicky the AXON hyperprocessing technology is, the keyboard performance is still good enough for me. It's nice to type on, and the build is very solid. I do wish that they offer some other tactile switch options or even Corsair's own OPX switches as well. However, Corsair did launch custom PBT keycaps kit alongside the K65 Mini. So if you want to customize it aesthetically, you can just get one of those and go crazy. And that's all for today's review. I hope you guys find this video helpful. And if you want to know more about the keyboard, please visit the link in the description box. This is Christina from Salty News Network, signing off. See you guys again next time.